Hi, welcome to Marketing Matters, our video Q&A series at Approach Marketing. We are back, and I'm Sarah Ann Harris, the Managing Director at Approach.
And I am Becky Olson, an account director at Approach.
We are so excited because today we are going to talk about something really important and something that we're all probably struggling with and talking about from a marketing perspective, but that's our marketing mix. And in light of everything going on and the fact that life looks a little different these days, the mix of how you talk to your consumers and your brand constituents is a little bit different than it has been in the past. And so we thought we'd take a few minutes to talk about that, things to evaluate, the different channels that are working and maybe not working right now, and how to take a step back and think about what's going to be most effective during this time. I think one of the things we've realized, Becky, is that being nimble is so important and being able to pivot quickly and change course to evaluate what's working and what isn't working really is of utmost importance right now because things are changing so rapidly.
That's right.
One of those things that as a PR agency, obviously, that we're ingrained in day to day is media relations. And that is one area where we're seeing huge changes and shifts because the news cycle is so intense right now and because the news changes day to day. So how have you really seen, as you're on the front lines, talking to media, pitching different stories, how have you seen that shifting and changing?
Absolutely. You covered two great points, which is that public relations is a mix of tactics. There's often this perception that we just focus on media relations, but that is a main bread and butter element that we do. So there's 2 points I do want to cover in that answer. The first is media relations. This particular week, I've spent a lot of time reaching out to media directly just to get a pulse on their mindset, what the newsrooms are looking like today. And as you can imagine, they are stretched even more thin than they already are. I think there's this perception that because we're sitting at home, have some extra time on our hands, might be bored at this point, that media are also there and just waiting and watching their email, hitting refresh for stories to come in. On the contrary, they are being dispatched to cover the daily briefings of their local governments and, of course, the national governments, looking at how that affects them directly. If you take a look on business media pages, for example, a business journal or business reporters, all of their stories right now are on the Paycheck Protection Program, other loans, how businesses locally are being affected. And if not that, it's on how are we reopening, or based on today's press briefing, how do we adapt? So everything truly at this point is about all forms of this COVID story and how businesses are adapting. So reporters that might have covered travel or restaurants are still doing that, but they're now doing it with that spin. So everything truly has to be about the situation. So before we used to elbow our way or barge into a newsroom, and I would say at this point, we're still tiptoeing in. We want to be very mindful of what we're sharing and talking about and being our best counselors that we can be to advise all clients that unless it's truly related, we need to find a way to make it so, or else still pause and do some other things in the marketing mix.
I think that's such a great point. And, my next question was going to kind of dive into that of if a brand or an organization doesn't have a natural tie to coronavirus and the current environment and news cycle, do we abandon media relations right now? What are some things that we should think about?
Absolutely. So back to the marketing mix. In our field, we often think of that mix as a PASO model, and that stands for paid, earned, owned, and shared. And that covers everything from your website to the content that you're putting out, ads that you're doing on social media or even search. It could also be working with influencer bloggers. It runs the gamut. So we actually do so much more than media relations. And even in general today, outside of the COVID situation, we should always be pairing media relations with something else because it's simply not something that you do or should do every single day. So that said, some of the other tactics that are really standing out from that PASO mix right now would be thought leadership. That's still earned outreach. Sometimes it can cross into paid if you need to pay a little bit of money to have it placed on a website. But because those editors and reporters are stretched so thin, being reassigned to other types of coverage, there's room to write your own stories, whether that be about the way that your business is going, how you recommend others in your field adapt to this situation. And it looks like more than usual outlets are accepting that type of content, and even in different creative ways, like having Zoom video recordings just like this, and they're airing that much like you'd see on a broadcast station. So those are things that are working. A lot more employee communications, both internal and also external communications to your public, whether that be via your email, signage out front of your business, social media content. So definitely social media for sure. And more of the communications, what are we saying? Maybe doing an email marketing campaign, looking at this time to get your digital landscape in order. Is it a time to look at your website, your design, your key messages, how you're talking about yourself, and also how to position yourself for the reopening and what might need to change from there?
Yeah, great advice, Becky. Okay, we're coming up on time, but one last question. If you could sum up what you think the landscape looks like for the future of PR over the next year or two, what are you seeing?
Absolutely. I think that corporate social responsibility, having a philanthropic or give back element, is something that people want to see well after just donating food or masks in these first few weeks and months. Having a purpose. Our needs and wants have truly come into focus at this time, and that applies to both consumers, it applies to businesses. So having a purpose, a mission that people can relate to, they're going to be a lot more protective with their dollars, but they want to give them to those that are doing good, giving back, having a purpose in society. And that can apply to everything from a local restaurant that does a sales promotion to help give back to a nonprofit or a school, all the way up to a huge corporation, in ways that they can support some of the larger things that we're talking about right now, whether that be climate or financial matters. So having a purpose, having a mission, having a leader that is forward thinking, that can be out there talking about these topics on their LinkedIn, in the media, topics like that. So I would say just being really mindful of what you're saying, what you're conveying, not just being a super hard sell, but a community helper will be things that media would want to talk about moving forward.
Absolutely. Oh, Becky, thank you so much for your insights today. And thanks to all of you who joined us for this episode of Marketing Matters. Hopefully you've picked up some helpful insights and tips. And we'd love to hear any ideas you have as well. You can leave your comments here. If you're facing a marketing challenge right now, we would love to talk with you. We have a no strings attached free consultation offer, and we mean it. We just love talking to people, and we are here in a serve first mentality during this time. So give us a ring, email us at hello@approachmarketing.com, and let's set up time to chat, and we can advise you and just talk through whatever it is that you might be facing. So thank you so much, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.